Ladies and gentlemen, it is now 80 years since my grandfather, King George VI, announced to the nation.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is now 80 years since my grandfather King George VI announced to the nation in a moment that has rocked the royal family to its core. Princess Anne and King Charles break their silence with a startling confession. We can't keep this hidden any longer. Behind palace walls, secrets have brewed for decades, but now the weight of truth is too heavy to bear. But what revelation could possibly unite the ever-reserved Anne and the sovereign king in such urgency? From whispered scandals to royal responsibility, this moment changes everything. Let's find out, because this royal truth bomb is about to explode. The love triangle that shaped a dynasty. Long before Queen Camilla stepped into the royal spotlight, another intriguing royal connection was taking shape, one that very few outside palace circles truly noticed. It wasn't between a prince and a fair maiden, but between the ever-practical Princess Anne and a dashing army officer, Andrew Parker Bowles. Back in the early 1970s, the two were more than just friends. They shared a deep connection, and whispers around the palace hinted at a romance that might have blossomed into something lasting. Some even say their bond was as passionate as it was genuine. But this budding relationship took a sudden turn, not because of royal scandal or family disapproval in the usual dramatic fashion, but because of something far less talked about: religion. Andrew was a devout Catholic, and royal tradition at the time strongly discouraged such unions. A Protestant princess marrying a Catholic was simply off-limits in the eyes of the monarchy. And so, with quiet hearts and perhaps unspoken regrets, Anne and Andrew went their separate ways. Camilla Shand, a name that would later dominate headlines, was back then simply a young woman with strong ties to the same social circle. After his romance with Anne ended, Andrew found his way back to Camilla, rekindling a connection they had shared before. In 1973, they got married, and Camilla became Mrs. Parker Bowles. But the romantic web didn't stop spinning there. While Princess Anne had once been close to Andrew, her brother, the young Prince Charles, had fallen head over heels for Camilla. Their connection was instant and intense. But royal duty has a way of meddling in matters of the heart. The expectations placed on Charles by the crown, combined with the public and political pressures of the time, forced the young prince to step back. And in that space of distance and duty, Camilla committed to a different life, one that saw her marrying Anne's former flame. Fast forward through years of royal marriages, public heartbreaks, and private tension. Princess Anne remained steadfast in her role, always dependable, always focused. She became known as the hardest-working royal, someone who quietly carried out her responsibilities with little fuss. Meanwhile, Charles married Lady Diana Spencer, but their story was far from a fairy tale. Following Diana's tragic death in 1997, and after many years of public and private speculation, Charles and Camilla eventually reunited, this time for good. They married in 2005, and over time, Camilla transitioned from controversial figure to queen consort. What once began as a set of quietly entangled relationships among four young people has now transformed into a polished narrative of royal duty and endurance. But beneath the surface of formal titles and public appearances, traces of those old romances linger. The past has not been forgotten. It's simply been reshaped into the present, wrapped in royal protocol and rebranded as history. It's a story of love lost, love found, and love complicated by crown and country. Let's dive into Princess Anne's doggedness that earned her the title of the most hardworking royal. Protocol, power, and a stiff upper lip, Princess Anne has always been the quiet force within the British royal family. A woman of duty, discipline, and deep loyalty. While others have been swept up in headlines and scandals, and has remained unshaken, focused on her royal responsibilities with little interest in drama. Her reputation as the monarchy's no-nonsense backbone isn't just a label, it's a legacy she has built over decades of unwavering service. So when her older brother Charles finally married Camilla Parker Bowles in 2005, after years of controversy, tabloid whispers, and public disapproval, and didn't cause a scene. True to her character, she remained calm, collected, and composed. But that didn't mean she was thrilled about the union. It wasn't just that Camilla had been the subject of public scandal, or that her relationship with Charles had caused heartache within the family. For Anne, the situation was even more personal. Camilla had once been married to Andrew Parker Bowles, who also happened to be one of Anne's past romantic interests. That tangled history was impossible to ignore. Add to that the fact that Camilla and Charles's relationship had, in many eyes, shaken the very foundation of royal tradition, and it's no surprise that Anne approached the situation with emotional distance. There were no angry interviews or dramatic public scenes. Princess Anne didn't speak ill of Camilla, nor did she attempt to sabotage the relationship. But those close to the royal family observed a quiet chill in the air whenever the two women were in the same room. They didn't clash openly, but they certainly didn't blend naturally either. Anne, known for her strict sense of royal duty and traditional views, found herself face to face with Camilla's more relaxed, modern take on life inside the palace. Camilla seemed comfortable breaking away from the rigid expectations that Anne had always followed without question. That difference in mindset was subtle but powerful. One moment in particular seemed to reveal just how deep Anne's feelings ran. After Camilla officially became queen consort, royal protocol would suggest that even Anne, the king's sister, offer a curtsy, but Anne didn't. Whether it was a quiet protest or simply a reflection of their complex history, that decision spoke volumes. It was a small gesture, but one that echoed through royal watchers and insiders alike. And yet, even amid these unspoken tensions, Anne never lost sight of her greater purpose. She may not have embraced Camilla with open arms, but she did publicly recognize her role as a support to King Charles. In appearances together, Anne and Camilla have always maintained a respectful front. They smile when expected, exchange polite words, and perform their duties side by side. Behind the palace doors, however, the atmosphere is more complicated. It's not a soap opera. It's more like a high-stakes chess game, where every move is shaped by centuries of tradition, layers of personal history, and the unbreakable expectation of royal composure. Princess Anne and Queen Camilla may not be close, but they both understand the importance of the roles they play. In a world where image matters and every glance can make headlines, their story is one of quiet tension, hidden strength, and the delicate balance between personal feelings and public responsibility. Let's dig into Camilla's quest for acceptance amidst Anne's unyielding dutifulness. The crown's crucible. In the quiet and dimly lit corridors of the royal palace, an important and emotionally charged meeting was taking place, one that pulled back the curtain on the deep and often hidden tensions within the monarchy. At the center of this intense discussion stood Princess Anne, a woman admired for her lifelong dedication to royal duties and her no-nonsense, straight-talking attitude, spoke up with firmness and clarity, raising questions about Queen Camilla's position within the royal household. She wasn't attacking Camilla personally, but rather, she expressed a powerful belief that a queen consort must do more than wear a crown. She must work tirelessly, serve the people selflessly, and earn their respect through consistent effort. In Anne's eyes, royalty meant responsibility, not just recognition. Her words, although calm and measured, carried the weight of years of silent observation and commitment. And wasn't trying to stir trouble, she was defending a legacy. To her, being royal wasn't about popularity or image, it was about purpose, discipline, and public service. Queen Camilla, on the other hand, listened with composure. For years, she had been rebuilding her image after stepping into the royal spotlight during one of the most difficult chapters in British royal history, the time following the tragic death of Princess Diana. Back then, Camilla was widely seen as an outsider, even a controversial figure. Since then, She has made genuine efforts to contribute through charity work and public appearances, steadily trying to change the public's perception of her. Yet despite all her efforts, full acceptance remained just out of reach. The shadow of the past still loomed large. In comparison to Anne, whose record of tireless service and quiet resilience had earned her great respect, Camilla still seemed, in some people's eyes, like she was trying to prove herself. But this tense moment between two royal women wasn't just about their individual roles. It reflected something much larger, a tug-of-war between tradition and change. Princess Anne stood for the old ways, the idea that royalty is about duty, structure, and preserving age-old values. She believed in a monarchy built on sacrifice and unshakable principles. Camilla, by contrast, represented the complex path of transformation. Her journey into the heart of the royal family was not straightforward. It was filled with public judgment, emotional trials, and years of effort to move from scandal to acceptance. She was the face of a monarchy trying to modernize, more relatable, perhaps, but also more vulnerable. This meeting wasn't just another royal conversation. It was a symbol of the monarchy's internal battle to find its place in the modern world. Can centuries-old traditions live side by side with today's demands for transparency, relatability, and emotional intelligence? Can someone like Camilla, who didn't begin her royal journey with public favor, ever truly be embraced as a queen consort in the same way as those born into their roles? These questions hung in the air long after the meeting ended. Princess Anne, ever faithful to her role, left the room with her usual quiet dignity. Camilla, poised but perhaps pensive, remained, carrying with her the unspoken weight of expectations and the pressure to continue proving herself. In that quiet palace room, a new chapter of royal reckoning was quietly being written. It was no longer just about who wore which title. It was about how the royal family would define itself for future generations. Would it cling to its proud traditions, or allow room for new faces and new stories, even if they came with complicated pasts? The answer, it seems, lies somewhere in the space between Anne's unwavering loyalty to duty and Camilla's complicated quest for acceptance. And in that delicate space, the future of the monarchy continues to unfold, one honest conversation at a time. Let's take a brief look at the bond between King Charles and Princess Anne, which is likely one of the factors influencing how she views Camilla. The unbreakable connection between Charles and Anne, just 21 months apart in age, has always been a remarkably close bond, the kind only siblings who grow up side by side can understand. Their early years were spent together within the grand walls of Buckingham Palace, a childhood shaped more by each other's company than by that of their often traveling royal parents. While their world was filled with royal duties and tradition, their relationship has always been grounded in something refreshingly ordinary, a genuine friendship. Even now, their connection hasn't faded. Instead, it seems to have grown stronger with time. From playful moments in their younger days to heartfelt displays of support in recent years, Charles and Anne have shown the world that sibling love can weather the decades and the pressures of royalty. Though royal life demands a certain seriousness, Charles and Anne haven't lost their sense of humor. In fact, they still enjoy light-hearted moments that hint at the affection they've always had for one another. A perfect example came during the celebrations of Charles's coronation. In the BBC documentary Charles III, The Coronation Year, viewers were treated to a candid and touching scene. As Anne made her way through the corridors of Buckingham Palace just before the royal family's iconic appearance on the balcony, she spotted her brother and called out to him with a grin, "Hello, Old Bean." The nickname was unexpected, charming, and deeply personal, a small window into their enduring closeness. They've often been caught sharing laughter in public, whether enjoying the Braemar Highland Games, smiling together during the late Queen Elizabeth II's Platinum Jubilee, or simply chatting during formal palace events. Despite the seriousness of their roles, there's always been room for shared joy. One passion that's kept them connected through the years is their love of horses. Equestrianism runs through the royal bloodline, thanks largely to their mother, Queen Elizabeth II, who famously adored horses. Both Charles and Anne inherited that love, while Charles gravitated toward the thrilling sport of polo, taking to the field from the age of 17 and playing for teams like Lady Diawolo's Blue and the Maple Leafs, and chose the world of competitive riding. Princess Anne didn't just ride for pleasure, she made history. She became the first British royal to compete in the Olympic Games, representing the UK in Montreal in 1976. She also collected medals in the European three-day event championships, proving her determination and skill in a demanding sport. Anne's daughter, Zara Tindall, also an accomplished equestrian, once remarked in an interview, "There's always horse conversation going on. Our horses are part of the family." Clearly, the passion has passed through generations. Even as Charles stepped back from polo in 2005 after 4 decades of playing, the bond between the royal siblings remained, with another shared interest keeping them connected: gardening. As children at Buckingham Palace, they found joy in the soil, tending to plants and finding peace among nature. It's a hobby that stuck with them into adulthood, offering another way to stay grounded despite their elevated roles. At the coronation, she was given the honor of serving as the gold stick in waiting, a historic role traditionally assigned to a loyal protector of the monarch. But for Anne, it wasn't just duty. It was family, it was love, and it was yet another sign of the deep, unshakable bond between the brother and sister who, from childhood to crown, have always stood by each other. Despite not being on the same page with Camilla, and still observes full protocols toward the Queen. Let's delve into the details of one of such instances, Princess Anne's royal etiquette. In a world governed by centuries-old traditions and finely tuned customs, even the smallest gestures can speak volumes. That's exactly what happened on a rather special day, Wednesday, November 20th, when Princess Anne and Queen Camilla made a rare public appearance together. It wasn't just another royal outing. It was a moment where respect, protocol, and sisterly elegance quietly danced in harmony. The occasion, a grand event at the University of London. Princess Anne, who at 74 continues to serve with remarkable dedication, holds the position of Chancellor of the university. She was there to do something deeply meaningful: award an honorary doctorate of literature to Queen Camilla, aged 77. The honor recognized the Queen's long-standing passion and tireless efforts in promoting reading and literature across the nation. But the moment that truly captured the public's imagination didn't take place on stage or in a speech. Instead, it unfolded quietly just as the two women were about to enter a room where they would meet the other 4 distinguished recipients of the honorary degrees. As they arrived, Queen Camilla, ever gracious, turned to her sister-in-law and offered a courteous gesture. "Please, go ahead," she invited Princess Anne to enter first ahead of her. It might seem like a simple act of politeness between 2 women, but for the British royal family, every step and turn is guided by tradition, especially when it comes to who walks first. Princess Anne, often referred to as the most hardworking member of the royal family and deeply rooted in tradition, knew exactly what to do. She smiled warmly, nodded respectfully, and gently declined the offer with a quiet but firm grace. She insisted that Queen Camilla go ahead. Why? Because even though Anne was born royal, the order of precedence, the official ranking that determines the importance of royals during formal events, places Queen Camilla higher. As the wife of King Charles III and the current Queen Consort, Camilla holds a position that outranks Anne's, despite Anne being the only daughter of the late Queen Elizabeth II and Prince Philip. According to royal experts and reports from the Daily Express, this moment was a perfect example of how seriously Princess Anne takes royal protocol. Her refusal wasn't about ego or rivalry. It was about respecting the system, the monarchy, and the roles each of them play in public life. The concept of order of precedence might sound old-fashioned, but in royal circles, it's a kind of silent rule book a hierarchy based on role, not necessarily relationship. It governs everything from how royals line up at state banquets to who enters a room first. And even in a private gesture like this, Princess Anne's subtle adherence reminded everyone just how much tradition still matters. Yet beyond protocol, this moment also told a story of mutual respect and sisterly warmth. It wasn't a power play, nor a cold exchange. There was kindness in Camilla's offer and grace in Anne's refusal. It was a tiny scene, but a meaningful one, between two women who have navigated royal life from very different starting points, yet now walk side by side in service to the crown. In the end, Queen Camilla stepped into the room first, not because she insisted, but because Princess Anne, ever the dignified royal, knew her place in the grand centuries-old tapestry of royal tradition and embraced it with quiet poise. It seems Anne is not the only one who might have seemed to have had enough of Camilla's royal presence. Kate seems to be on the same table. Let's find out what went on between Kate and Camilla. The silent struggle, Camilla and Catherine's battle for public favor. Alongside the complex dynamics within the royal family, another layer of quiet yet noticeable tension simmered, this time between Queen Camilla and Princess Catherine. It wasn't the kind of open feud that makes headlines, but rather an undercurrent, a subtle rivalry that occasionally flickered behind their formal smiles and public handshakes. Princess Catherine, formerly known as Kate Middleton, rose in public admiration like a star on a clear night. Her story was something people could connect with, a commoner-turned princess stepping gracefully into one of the most scrutinized roles in the world. Her warmth, elegance, and strong sense of duty quickly won hearts. She became a symbol of modern royalty not because of flashy displays or scandalous stories, but because of how deeply people felt she understood them. Her work, especially around mental health awareness and the development of young children, showed a woman genuinely committed to making a difference. And her marriage to Prince William, the beloved son of the late Princess Diana, only added to her fairy tale image. The media adored her. The public admired her. She was the people's princess for a new generation. Queen Camilla, on the other hand, had a more complicated path. Though now firmly part of the royal establishment and carrying out her duties with poise, her past lingered like a shadow that refused to fade. For many, her name was still linked to the painful end of the fairy tale that was Charles and Diana. No matter how much time passed or how many royal engagements she attended, that history stayed close behind her. While she had worked hard, quietly and consistently, to earn respect and play her role with dignity, the comparisons with Catherine were both constant and unfair. Despite this, public appearances between the two women told a different story. They smiled side by side, attended events together, and shared polite exchanges that suggested unity. But anyone looking closer could sense the quiet tug-of-war. It wasn't a battle of words, but of presence. Camilla, who had once been the woman in the shadows, now stood as queen consort. And yet, despite her elevated title, it was Catherine who often stole the spotlight. Wherever Catherine went, the cameras followed. Whatever she wore, it sold out in hours. Whatever cause she supported, it drew new attention. It wasn't just charm, it was influence, and it came to her with apparent ease. This ongoing contrast made Camilla's efforts even more challenging. She wasn't trying to compete, necessarily, but she was trying to establish her own identity within a monarchy that was changing. The royal family wasn't just about tradition anymore. It was about connection, image, and relatability. In that new world, Catherine shone naturally. Camilla, with her more reserved style and her legacy still a subject of quiet debate, found herself walking a harder road. In many ways, the quiet tension between them symbolized the broader shifts happening within the royal household. A newer, more media-savvy generation was rising, one that knew how to balance royal tradition with modern appeal. And while Camilla played her role with grace and resilience, the public's affection leaned heavily toward Catherine, making her the face of the monarchy's future. What do you think about the royal drama between Camilla and Anne? We would love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe.